And we are on. Hello, everybody. Welcome and good Monday morning to you. Quite an eventful weekend, wouldn't you say? Let's take a look at what happened over the weekend and what's going on now. It is certainly a lot. Does anybody feel like you're living, if you're in America or around the world, you feel like we're somehow all of a sudden living under the presidency of George W. Bush again? You know, I used to be a neocon. Anytime that we started firing up our jets to go do something around the world, I got excited. I was a certifiable neocon. When the first Gulf War with Papa Bush, where we went to Kuwait, I had a buddy who was in the Navy. He was a fighter pilot. He flew F-18 Hornets off of the Theodore Roosevelt, and he called me just shortly before he left for the theater over there for the war, the Iraq War under George Bush Jr., and he said, well, they gave me my 38 today. I said, what do you mean? He said, just in case I get shot down, I have some way to defend myself. Of course, he now knows the same thing that I know, and so many of you know, that everything we did over there was built on a lie, and it was ultimately futile, and all it did was cost us time and talent and treasure, equipment, money, lives. And here we sit in 2025, $37 trillion in debt, and the world is no better off than when we fired the first missile. It's George W. Bush all over again. Folks, let me tell you something. Donald Trump came into office with a mandate. There's no question about this. And one of the appealing things about Donald Trump was his apparent commitment to peaceful resolutions of world conflicts. Pardon me, with regard to Russia and Ukraine, Trump came into office, and you know how things were under Biden. We're just constantly funneling and pumping more money, more taxpayer money to Ukraine in an absolutely futile effort to turn back Russia. That was never going to happen, and of course, that wasn't what the money was for anyway. But Donald Trump came into office saying he wants to get this war over with. He just wants to see the killing stopped. And his rhetoric sounded more and more like that of an anti-war candidate. Now, I'm not saying he claimed to be anti-war. I never heard him say that. But he certainly marked a departure in foreign policy philosophy from what we had had with Biden and Obama and Bush. It was a complete departure. Trump sounded like a president, a potential president, who was going to tend to the domestic issues of the United States, primarily the border, and economic issues, make America great again, and not be such an interventionist or an empire builder around the world. And in the space of one weekend, he has turned all of that on its ear, and his actions have exposed a great divide among his followers. And I'm telling you, I know he's not running for re-election, but I am telling you, you cannot afford the kind of divide that has resulted from Trump's actions in Iran over the weekend. Folks, as things stand right now, my prediction is we are going to get shellacked in the midterms. It's as simple as that. More on that in just a moment. Because there's now this great divide. You know who's happy? Well, let me get to that in just a moment. I've been thinking this morning of calling him President Donald J. Netanyahu. And I'm not trying to be cute or clever. The bottom line is, once again, we are doing the bidding of Benjamin Netanyahu. Whatever he wants, we are at his beck and call. Netanyahu pulls into the American diner, rolls his window down, and we go out and say, yes, sir, is there anything we can do for you? And we take his order and proceed to do whatever he wants. because our president, Donald Netanyahu, is all too willing to do the bidding of the Israelis. Why? Because like so many politicians, as I said yesterday, he is in the pocket of Israelis. His donations are over $200 million from Israeli lobby interest. Now, I want to give you a quote from President Donald Netanyahu. And if that pisses some of you off too bad, you'll just have to deal with it. I'm sorry, but it's a fact. We are doing the bidding of the nation of Israel. We are supposed to be America first. Instead, over the weekend, Donald Trump proved to all of us that it ain't America first at all. Apparently, it's make Israel great again, or make Iran great again, as I'll get to in a moment. Make everybody great again. But what about us? You are supposed to be the President of the United States. Period, President Netanyahu. Instead, you're going over to the Middle East. I mean, why can't Israel go take out... Israel has nukes. Israel has bombs. Lord knows we sold them to them or gave them to them. Why can't they go take care of this? If it needs to be done, why must it be us? Do you know, by the way, how much this little weekend exercise cost? The American taxpayer over $500 million. But hey, it's only money, right? I mean, that's the smart thing to do. When you're $37 trillion in debt, what do? You go spend $500 million more because, hey, what the hell? It's only money. We can always print it, right? Let me give you a quote from President Netanyahu in 2023. This is what he said. The quote, "The last thing we need is another endless war, trying to build democracy in the desert." That is a direct quote from Donald J. Netanyahu in 2023. The last thing we need is another endless war, trying to build democracy in the desert. Just 2 years later, this weekend, do you know what Trump said? Quote, "Why wouldn't there be regime change if the current regime is unable to make Iran great again?" Unquote. He tweeted that yesterday. Today is Monday morning. Trump tweeted that yesterday. Why wouldn't there be regime change if the current regime is unable to make Iran great again? How many of you that are Americans watching me right now are real preoccupied with making Iran great again? I don't give a damn about Iran. I'm an American. Let Iran tend to Iran. I have no doubt that Iran needs regime change. I have no doubt of that. You know, Iran is the populace in Iran. They're not quite as nutty as their mullahs, their ayatollahs. Iran is a sophisticated, this is Persia, right? They are very modern. They are very sophisticated. They have just somehow come under the domain of nutty religious leaders. These mullahs, the Muslims that are leading them right now. They do need more moderate leadership. They do need regime change. So why don't they take care of it? Shouldn't that be up to the people of Iran? You know, we needed regime change last November, and we got it because the American people rose up and said, we're done with this nonsense. We're not having 4 years of cackling Cammy. We're going to put Trump in office, and that's what we did. Now, they may not be able to foment regime change in Iran with elections. I get it. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do. You know, we started the United States not with voting. That's another story, a rabbit trail I won't go down, but there were loyalists in times of the Revolutionary War. Not everybody wanted to leave the crown. Some of them went to Canada. But be that as it may, the United States was birthed in a war, the Revolutionary War, and we got our own leadership. So if there needs to be regime change in Iran, and I do not deny there does need to be regime change, then let them change it without intervention of the United States or anybody else for that matter. Can you believe this 180 from Trump? From the last thing we need to do is another endless war in the desert. Amen, brother. And then yesterday, why wouldn't there be regime change if the current regime is unable to make Iran great again? What a disappointment. Now, to their credit, of course, they'll probably be pulled in line. Pete Hegseth, Marco Rubio, and J.D. Vance all denied over the weekend that regime change is the goal, but of course they're not the president. And have you noticed, ladies and gentlemen, who has apparently been set to the side and somewhat muted? That would be one of the only sane voices in the Trump administration, in Tulsi Gabbard. What a pity. Now, who is happy about what Donald J. Netanyahu did over the weekend? Who's happy about it? I'll tell you who's happy about it. John Bolton is beside himself. Lindsey Graham is delighted. John McCain is looking down from well, maybe not. John McCain would be very happy with what's happening. The Cheneys are just ecstatic about what Trump has done. Liz and Dick. George Bush, no doubt, is and Jeb, please clap. Jeb tweeted just a few minutes ago, I saw, just applauding what Trump has done. Mike Pompeo is happy this morning. Senator Tom Cotton is happy this morning. Mark Levin, good old neocon Israel first. Mark Levin on your radio, boys and girls. He is ecstatic this morning, as is Sean DePaul Hannity. Former Vice President Mike Pence tweeted his approval, and on and on and on and on it goes. Laura Loomer is just gushing this morning. And so you've got this divide among the Trump electorate, those who support Donald Trump or supported Donald Trump, but you've got those who supported Trump who did so because they were war weary. They were tired of the Russia-Ukraine nonsense and our involvement in same. They were tired of the Afghanistans of the world. They were tired of our expansion of our blueprint all around the world, of our footprint all around the world. They were tired of America being the world's policeman. They were tired of endless wars. Thus, they voted for Trump, who sounded like he was tired of it too. But here we go again. It's George W. Bush all over again, and it exposes this divide among Trump supporters, because you've got all the aforementioned people I just named who are ecstatic that Trump has done what he did over the weekend. Thus the divide. Trump supporters who hate what he has done. These are people, many of them, who just could not tolerate the notion of a Kamala Harris presidency, so they voted for Trump. These are a lot of swing voters. These are a lot of libertarians that Trump has just ruined, and that's why I'm saying in the midterms he's going to get shellacked. He's going to lose his majority. It's over. I mean, he had the chance. You mark it down. That's my prediction. That's just what I'm saying. We may lose the Senate, and if we lose the House and we lose the Senate, I mean, it's all over, folks. I mean, the Trump presidency is over, and he will leave office having never made America great again, as he told us he would, and it's his own damn fault. And I predict, if we lose the majority, I'm just going to tell you, if we lose the majority in the midterms, if we lose the House, which I am convinced we absolutely will, that's going to give us Hakeem Jeffries as Speaker of the House, and Lord only knows who is Senate Majority Leader. If we lose the House and we lose the Senate, I predict right now Donald Trump is going to be impeached again, and this time he may well be convicted. Because nonsense like this will get you, I mean, they already hate him, and even though Donald Trump took action yesterday that appeases all of the neocons, they still hate Donald Trump. And so he just played a card he should never have played, and it's going to make him weaker as a president, I predict. And I believe they're going to go for the jugular after the midterms. I really believe that, folks. By the way, have you noticed that all of a sudden, I predicted this as well. I got my little Swami hat on this morning. Have you noticed, ladies and gentlemen, what has happened over the weekend just like that? Guess who all of a sudden is anti-war again? That's right, boys and girls, it's the Democrats. The Democrats who have, from the 60s and on, were always the anti-war party, and to their credit, I give them credit for that. But here for the last 20 to 30 years, during the Clinton and Obama years, all of a sudden they just lost their anti-war voice. Now they were all for any action that Biden would take, any action that Obama would take, anything that Clinton would do militarily. They were all for it. No matter where you wanted to drop bombs, the Democrats were all for it. You couldn't find an anti-war Democrat if your life depended on it. It was like panning for gold on Gilligan's Island. You could not find an anti-war Democrat. But all of a sudden, this weekend, after Trump's debacle in Iran, all of a sudden, the anti-war Democrats start showing their heads again. Isn't that interesting? Political opportunity, anybody? Well, I applaud anti-war politicians, because I don't want any wars. I mean, if somebody drops some bombs on us, then that's fair game. I'm all for the defense of our homeland. But as for war making all over the world, that is absolute, utter folly. And all of a sudden, the Democrats are becoming anti-war again. And to their credit, and this may well help them in the midterms. But the way that Trump is going right now, I don't know how much more help they're going to need, quite frankly. This is just, what a lost opportunity we have here. All because Trump gets sidetracked by going into Iran over the weekend. But let me tell you some of the fallout from this. I was watching the Duran this morning. I highly recommend it, and a lot of you do watch the Duran. And my buddy Alex Christoforou had a special guest on his show this morning, Stanislav Krapivnik, I believe his name is. He's a Russian. And he was talking with Alex about the Ukrainian war, and he was basically making a point that I had made over the weekend, which that Trump's actions in Iran have basically taken the cameras, if you will, off of the Russia-Ukraine war. And I don't know if you've been keeping track with this or not, but Russia has made tremendous gains in Ukraine the last week or so. And Stanislav detailed this. Some of these regions are just ready to fall, and the Donbass region of Ukraine is on the precipice of falling to Russia. Russia is dominating the skies in Ukraine. Ukraine is at the end of their rope with drone stockpiles. Russia far outnumbers them. They're floating drones around Kiev now at will. I think Trump probably knows that. Maybe he's trying to save face by taking attention off of the Russia-Ukraine war, by directing our attention somewhere else. But the best thing for him to do is just go back to the White House and tend to our borders, our airspace, our problems, our debt. We've got enough problems, Mr. President, here for you to give your attention to without going to Iran or without doing the bidding of this genocidal maniac, Benjamin Netanyahu, who continues to kill Christians and Muslims and anybody else who gets in his way in that region of the world. It's just absolutely criminal. Now, another thing that Krapivnik said and Alex agreed with this morning is that the fallout of Trump's actions in Iran is very possibly going to be to the detriment of the American people in the West, because if Iran closes or chokes off the Straits of Hormuz, it is very likely that the fallout from that is going to be skyrocketing fuel prices. And he was throwing out numbers that boggle the mind. He's talking about gas $15 to $20 a gallon in America, all because of what Trump has done this weekend. War is let me clarify this. Unnecessary, unneeded war. And this is a war. I saw people, let me finish my thought. There's just no reason to do it because of the fallout that happens afterwards. This was a war, okay? This was. There are people out there on TV and social media saying, "Well, this is not a war. This was just us dropping some bombs on some nuclear sites." I covered this yesterday, by the way. It really doesn't constitute a war. Nonsense! It is a war. When Japan dropped bombs on Pearl Harbor, do you know what Roosevelt called it? An act of war, as did Congress, as it was. Now, I'm not going to get sidetracked into the cause of that war, but I will tell you this. That war was Roosevelt's fault. He wanted to be in that war, and he goaded Japan into attacking us. But be that as it may, that was, in its purest form, an act of war. And what Trump did in Iran was an act of war. What if some nation dropped a couple of bombs on Wichita today? Would you, if you're an American, would you call that an act of war? Of course it was. What did we call it when the towers came down in New York? It was an act of war. You can't dismiss that. Well, we just dropped a little bomb or two and took out some reactors, which we did not do. It's a war, folks. I mean, it is an undeclared war. It's supposed to get these things declared. Nobody ever does anymore, and we all know it. I've got to get to Congressman Thomas Massie. I am a big fan of Congressman Thomas Massie, the representative from the 4th District of Kentucky. Thomas Massie, if you want to talk about somebody being America first, it's Thomas Massie. Thomas Massie is cut from the same cloth as a Ron Paul, for example. Now, I don't agree with him about everything. I'm not a libertarian. I don't agree with Ron Paul about everything. I'm not a libertarian. But they sure as hell make a whole lot more sense than just about anything anybody else is saying that's in Congress right now. While he has served in Congress, in the U.S. Congress, among the things that Representative Massie has done is introduce bills to abolish the Federal Reserve. I've got them written down right here. He has introduced bills to terminate the Department of Education. We're 2 for 2. Not that this stuff has happened, but it's good that he's proposing it. He has introduced bills to end the federal ban on raw milk. He has introduced bills to stop the COVID vax mandates. That's a good thing. He has introduced bills to end taxes on tips and to prohibit funding of censorship. That is, you cannot get a more small government, responsible, anti-war, responsible, fiscal conservative than Thomas Massie. He is the model for every person who serves as a member of Congress. And Donald Trump, President Donald Netanyahu, went on the offensive and took out the big guns yesterday for Representative Thomas Massie. Why? Because Thomas Massie voiced his opposition, as he should have, to what President Netanyahu did in Iran over the weekend. And Donald Trump didn't take kindly to that. You should not question President Donald J. Netanyahu. Whatever he wants to do, that's what you need to support. And I want you to look or listen to what Donald Trump tweeted about Congressman Thomas Massie yesterday. I quote, it's a rather lengthy tweet. Hang in there with me while I quote from it. Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky is not MAGA, even though he likes to say he is. Actually, MAGA doesn't want him, doesn't know him, and doesn't respect him. He is a negative force who almost always votes no. no matter how good something may be. He's a simple-minded grandstander who thinks it's good politics for Iran to have the highest level nuclear weapon while at the same time yelling death to America at every chance they get. Iran has killed and maimed thousands of Americans. Really? And even took over the American embassy in Tehran under the Carter administration. We had a spectacular military success yesterday, taking the bomb right out of their hands. They would use it if they could. But as usual, and despite all of the praise and accolades received, this lightweight congressman is against what was so brilliantly achieved last night in Iran. Massie is weak, ineffective, and votes no on virtually everything put before him. Rand Paul Jr., no matter how good something may be. He is disrespectful to our great military. That's bullshit. And all that they stand for, not even acknowledging their brilliance and bravery in yesterday's attack, which was a total and complete win. Massie should drop his fake act and start putting America first, but he doesn't know how to get there. He doesn't have a clue. He'll undoubtedly vote against the great, big, beautiful bill, even though non-passage means a 68% tax increase for everybody, and many things far worse than that. MAGA should drop this pathetic loser, Tom Massie, like the plague. The good news is that we will have a wonderful American patriot running against him in the Republican primary, and I'll be out in Kentucky campaigning really hard. MAGA is not about lazy, grandstanding, non-productive politicians, of which Thomas Massie is definitely one. Thank you to our incredible military for the amazing job they did last night. It was really special. Make America great again. This is utter bullshit. This is nonsense. There is nobody who loves his country more than Thomas Massie and represents us with more devotion to the Constitution than Thomas Massie. You are such a mentally speaking, Donald Trump, you are mentally inferior to Thomas Massie. It's just as simple as that. If you people know anything about Thomas Massie, you know what I'm talking about. You know what he has done in Kentucky at his own home. And by the way, I've got to tell you, this is not the first time Trump has gone after Tom. I'm sorry, I'm wound up, but this pisses me off, folks. I'm telling you, this is completely uncalled for. Donald Trump is being an absolute bully here. And we need a Congress full of Thomas Massies. These are fiscally responsible, fiscal conservatives who simply want the United States government to operate within its constitutional confines and do only those things it is authorized to do. He is opposed to these endless, unconstitutional, pointless wars which only cost American lives and American taxpayer dollars. Thomas Massie should be lauded and applauded and be given medals. This man who just lost his wife last year, God bless him. He is an MIT graduate. He is brilliant. He could debate Donald Trump under the table if given the chance. This man knows the Constitution backwards and forwards. He understands liberty backwards and forwards. He understands the implications of $37 trillion of debt. He sees bullshit when he sees it. He lets us know what happened in Iran. That's what this is. Donald Trump is the kind of leader who is insecure for some reason. You have got to agree with Donald Trump. You cannot disagree with Donald Trump on anything. If you do, he's going to demonize you. He's going to pick on you. He's going to tweet at you. He's going to try to embarrass you. He's going to throw you under the bus, and he'll do anything he can if you're a politician to get you thrown out of office. Shame on you, Donald Trump. Shame on you. I supported you, but I do not support this. This is uncalled for, sir. This is playground bully behavior. That's all this is. I'm sorry, folks, but I'm wound up about this. I love Thomas Massie. We need more Thomas Massies in Congress. But Trump is saying in the next election They've already got somebody in place they're going to put there to run against Thomas Massie and throw him to the streets. Well, guess what? This has been tried before. Trump is lying. I'm sorry. People say Donald Trump's a liar. A lot of times he is. It's a fact. And he's lying right now about Thomas Massie. He has stated that the people of Kentucky can't stand Thomas Massie. That's a lie. The people of the 4th District love Thomas Massie, which they prove every 2 years. In 2020, Donald Trump did his damnedest to unseat Thomas Massie. You know who else was trying to do the same thing? Liz Cheney. That's right. They both were trying to get Thomas Massie defeated at the polls. You know what happened? Thomas Massie he had a primary opponent. He defeated his primary opponent 82% to 18%. So that's what you've got to look forward to in the next elections. So Donald Trump, bring it on. Bring on your boy. You're going to get embarrassed, sir. You're going to get humiliated because you're going to find out what the people of the 4th District really think about Thomas Massie. And, of course, in the general election against the Democrat, there's just no contest. Thomas Massie will get reelected to Congress. It's going to be a black eye for Donald Trump and well-deserved. You need people like Thomas Massie on your side. We need more Thomas Massies in the halls of Congress. The last thing we need to do is demonize good, faithful, constitutional Americans like Thomas Massie. To that end, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. Folks, there's going to be a link down below this video. Yesterday, after I read this tweet, I was boiling. I was hopping mad, albeit on one leg. But after I read this tweet, I went looking for the Thomas Massie campaign website and I found it. And I sent along a donation for Thomas Massie's re-election, and I want to encourage you to do the same thing. If you're inclined, I've got links for my channel down below. One of those links is Buy Me a Coffee, where it's kind of like leaving me a tip for my videos. You can buy me a coffee, and, it's kind of like leaving a tip, right? If you're inclined to do that after watching this video, I don't want you to do that. I want you, if you're going to send any money via the Buy Me a Coffee link, don't do that today. I want you to send that to, if you're going to do it, I would rather you send that money to Thomas Massie, his re-election campaign. And I'm going to post a link down below. I want to send a message to Donald Trump. Buddy, you just picked on the wrong man. We thought you were anti-war. Obviously, you are not. Donald Trump fumbled the ball this weekend, ladies and gentlemen, and I believe that Donald Trump fumbled away the midterms as well. Particularly if the fallout from all of this is higher prices at the gas pump, which it almost certainly is going to be. This was utter, complete folly. This is what we get for doing the bidding of Benjamin Netanyahu. Nothing but trouble. Nothing but more inflation, more debt, higher gas prices, a stagnant economy. I mean, we've been rocking and rolling for the first 6 months of the year, but all of a sudden, we start doing the bidding of Benjamin Netanyahu and we go right into the ditch. That's where it gets us. It never fails. So if you are so inclined to spend any money today in a charitable fashion, I want to encourage you to send it to Thomas Massie for Congress, and let's get this man reelected overwhelmingly, thus sending a message to Donald Trump and the neocons. You don't bully around people like this. Save that for the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortezes of the world, or the Ted Cruzes of the world, or the Lindsey Grahams of the world, or the Tom Cottons of the world, or the Bernie Sanders of the world. You're attacking one of us now. And there is no call for this. None whatsoever. All right, I've rambled enough, folks. Thanks for watching. Hey, do me a favor. Give me your comments down below. I would really appreciate it. A lot of you are sending me all kinds of links and everything. I can't possibly accommodate. I got to tell you, I don't like convalescing, but it's nice to be able to give a little attention to my channel now while I'm down for it. I don't know, 6 to 8 weeks. The doctor is telling me so. No, 8 to 9 weeks from the time I first saw him. So I get to spend a little more time with you. So that's nice. But anyway, thanks for watching. Give me your comments down below. Like this video. Subscribe to the channel. Share it far and wide. And I will see you soon.